A Pittsburgh attorney arrested for dropping pants while walking through metal detector at court. Hello, everybody. I am Joe the lawyer. This is Joe the lawyer. I'm a practicing attorney in Pittsburgh, PA. In this story here, I can give you some personal insight into, because this lawyer who was arrested for dropping his pants while walking through a metal detector, I've walked through this same metal detector dozens, hundreds of times. So we are going to drop in. We're going to watch this story, and perhaps the funniest part of the story is the way that this attorney reenacts it. I don't personally know this lawyer. I do know a lot of the lawyers in Pittsburgh. I don't know. I mostly know the criminal defense attorneys, but I think you are all going to get a kick out of this, and I can give you some personal insight into where this happened, how this happened, and I give you my own experiences. So before we dig into this pretty funny and interesting story that occurred in my hometown, my city, raise your cup, your glass in the air. There they are, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the greatest professional hockey franchise of all time. Cheers with me. It tastes better when we sip together. Cheers. Hail Mario Lemieux. All right, let's watch this video.
I did not plan to do this.
A local attorney is on the other side of the law, detained for an hour today for dropping his pants inside the courthouse. Channel 11 Serafina James is live now after speaking with him, and Serafina literally caught with his pants down. The story certainly has a lot of people's attention.
She's laughing.
Yeah, Lisa, tonight the local attorney is exposing the truth and telling us what happened here. And he says the proof is not in the pants, but instead in his suspenders.
I always wear suspenders when I go to court. And coincidentally today, they were scales of justice.
On Wednesday afternoon, attorney Jeffrey Pollack arrived at Allegheny County Family Court for a scheduled hearing. The 59-year-old, wearing his signature look, suspenders, attempted to go through the metal detectors, but he kept triggering the alarm.
The woman who was at the magnetometer said, "Take off your suspenders." And I said, "Can you please wand me?"
Pollack tells Channel 11 this particular accessory tends to set the machine off, so he usually asks to get wanded. But instead, another security guard in the vicinity stepped in.
Wasn't even working. He was on his break. And he came up from the side and got in my personal space and said, "You'll either take off your suspenders or you're going out the front door." And he's threatened me before.
Pollack, whose suspenders are attached inside his pants with buttons, had another idea.
Because the guy with the mustache was putting up such a stink, he went and got the deputies. I took off my slacks, I folded them, I politely put them in the bin, and I walked through the metal detector. I no longer had these two things that went off the first time.
At this point, Pollack was standing in the middle of the Family Division Rotunda, wearing only his shirt and underwear.
I was standing just like this.
Allegheny County Sheriff's deputies took Pollack into custody.
And when I got through with no beep, next thing I know, I'm being handcuffed and paraded like this through the rotunda to the deputy sheriff's bullpen.
Pollack was detained for nearly an hour without his pants. Now the Squirrel Hill attorney, who fights for justice on behalf of others, now wants the same for himself.
What they did to me today was not appropriate, and by embarrassing me and sending out a press release, I don't know how that helps anything. If they want to do something, they can change the way people are led into the courthouse.
Pollack was charged with disorderly conduct. Live in Allegheny County tonight, Serafina James, Channel 11 News.
Well, the caption there is interesting, everyone. Oh, they're going to get a free ad out of me here. The caption there, exposing the truth. I mean, something was being exposed, right? Something was being exposed. And you know, he dropped his pants on the news channel, like on the news, on the Pittsburgh news. Everybody sees that. I'm kind of surprised they showed that, to be honest. I mean, I guess, we didn't see anything there. Nothing was ultimately exposed, just his legs, but kind of a bit odd. So as funny as this story is, I agree with this lawyer. I agree with Miss Attorney Pollock. He's right. They made him take his suspenders off. Well, he took them off. He just took his pants off along with them. And then they put him in handcuffs. I do think that was a bit extreme, if you ask me. Now, let me tell you about my own personal experience and give you a little context here. Okay, there's a couple of courthouses, like most mid-sized big cities. There's a couple of courthouses in downtown Pittsburgh. Some courthouses in the more rural areas of Pittsburgh where I go did not even have metal detectors up until a few years ago. No metal detectors. Up until a few years ago, you could just walk into the courthouse. And, there were like police and sheriff's deputies all throughout the courthouse. Maybe that's why they thought it was secure. But you used to be able to walk right in. Nowadays, Pittsburgh has always had them, but every little courthouse I used to go to has them now. Okay, so what you have with these magnetometers, if I'm saying that right, is they're set to different levels. So many, if you have like a little bit of metal, you can still walk through and it won't set the buzzer off. It won't set the detector off. And if that's the case, so some of these courthouses you walk into, you have a belt on, you just take off maybe your metal watch and put your phone and run it through the machine metal detector, and you can walk through and it won't beep. Now, if it does beep, what a lot of sheriff's deputies, security guards who work at these stations will do is they have a wand, a metal detector wand, okay, and they'll wand you, and the wand will pick up, a small piece of metal, and then it lets the officer know, oh, it's the belt loop. But if it's something in the pockets or in a weird spot, the wand will tell them, and then, they can make you lift your shirt up or take your belt off or inspect a little further. And that's also often done. So even with the detectors that have a low setting, then you have like a medium setting, you might walk through, get a beep, and you say to the sheriff's deputy, you say, hey, it's my belt, and he'll wand you, go beep, beep, okay, and they'll let you go, okay? And that's how the majority of these metal detectors and these security guards operate, especially in the rural counties. Today, I went into court, I walked through, my belt went off, an officer wanded me in the front, had me turn around, wanded me in the back, let me go, even though my belt went off, okay? Now, the Allegheny County Courthouse, which is the criminal courthouse, and the one where Mr. Pollock had an issue was the family law courthouse. That's usually a very high setting, and I know when I go through, I have to take my belt off, and sometimes you have to take your shoes off, okay? And women will have like jewelry and all kinds of stuff. They'll make them take all that stuff off. Okay, I see somebody standing at that metal detector for 15 minutes taking all the metal off their body. And for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's their directives, but those officers, those sheriff's deputies, they don't like to do the wand thing. They don't want to do it. Maybe it's too busy. Maybe it's the rule. So, Mr. Pollock, like me, he goes to all these different courthouses where they'll go through, you have a little bit of metal, they'll wand you. If you have something like suspenders on, they'll hit you with a wand front and back and let you keep going, and that's what he was telling them to do. It's a fairly reasonable request, but for whatever reason, the Allegheny County Courthouse and the Allegheny County Family Building, number one, their magnetometers are set very high, so it's extremely sensitive to almost any piece of metal, and number two, these guards will not play ball with you. They won't do a wand. They won't do like a visual search and let you go through. I bought suspenders on the internet because like clip-on suspenders because I was sick of walking through those metal detectors and having to take my belt off. And I thought the suspenders that I bought, I thought they were like plastic clips. Well, they were metal And they made me take those suspenders off. They made me take them off. Now, here's the thing about Mr. Pollock is if he wears those all the time, he must get away with it most of the time. So I don't know if it was just one sheriff's deputy or officer who was sick of him that was like, take it off. But I can tell you, they made me take them off, and I stopped wearing them because it's a huge pain in the butt to take off suspenders and then have to put them back on once you're inside the courthouse. So, their security concerns are greater at these courthouses, like the family court and the criminal courthouse. But they could have given them the wand. I think they just don't want to do it because then they're going to have to do it for everybody. And those are extremely busy courthouses. So I just thought it was a bit hilarious that he took it. Well, number one, it's hilarious that he took his pants off in the first place. Okay, it's hilarious that he did that in this big public hall. And I understand what he's saying. They arrested him. They embarrassed him. They could have let him put his pants back on and then walked him back to the bullpen. It's a little ridiculous that they took him right there the way he was. And number two, I thought it was pretty funny that he took his pants off there. But I'm with him. It can be a huge pain in the butt to get through those metal detectors. It's like taking all of your clothes off. And I think those deputies, officers could make things a little bit easier if they were willing to use the wand, okay? But then again, they have security concerns. So it's... It will be interesting to see what comes of this. Frankly, I don't think the sheriff's department, I don't think they're going to give in. Even though he went on the news in order to expose the truth. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm Joe Pometto, Joe the lawyer, practicing Pittsburgh attorney, criminal law, family law, injury law, all the laws come to me. I'm your friendly neighborhood lawyer. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Have a terrific day. Bye-bye.